Hi guys, it's Spencer. Welcome to Sphinx Reads. Today I will be vlogging, or this will be the start of a reading vlog for The Way of Kings, which I am finally getting to. As you may already know, I'm co-hosting a Cosmere Crab-along, which is a year-long read-along for the entire Cosmere. And technically, we don't really read The Way of Kings till September, but I am a very slow reader, so I am starting way early. It's only like the end of June. I'm only just starting this. I'm hoping to get through that much today. Anyway, I haven't started this yet, but I have been waiting for this day for quite a while now. I've been wanting to get into Stormlight Archive for such a long time now, pretty much ever since a friend recommended it to me back in 2019. I can't believe that 2019 is almost 2 years ago. What are my expectations? So first of all, since I've been reading pretty much all of Brando's works, or Brandon Sanderson's works this year, I've come to trust this author so much now. I know that in the past I've struggled with his beginnings. For example, Elantris. Even though I did like Elantris, the beginning was a little bit of a challenge for me, but I just kind of took it, and in the end it had a great payoff. The same thing goes with The Final Empire, the first book in the Mistborn trilogy. I struggled with it, and then the end was perfect. As I've read Brandon Sanderson all throughout this year, I've come to realize that I do care about prose. Brandon Sanderson's prose is not like bad at all. It's actually pretty good. It's just that I've been craving reading something a little bit more leaning towards the fancier, like purple prose, because Brandon Sanderson doesn't use fancy prose like at all. It's just really straightforward, really clear. He focuses more on the world building. He focuses more on describing things to you as opposed to like making his writing flowery, which, it really depends on you as a reader, like whether or not you like that. I've discovered that it's not that I find it lacking in Brandon Sanderson's writing, it's just that I realized, I really do care about prose when it comes to my reading. That said, because his plots always pay off, especially at the end, I have come to trust this author enough to have faith that despite the length of this book, I think I'm going to enjoy it. Part of my hype for Stormlight Archive is because so many friends of mine have recommended it. Not just friends, also booktubers, etc. For example, I've seen a romance booktuber want to get into fantasy, and then Stormlight Archive was their introduction. And they were like, I don't read fantasy at all, but I love this book so much. So I was like, wow, that's saying a lot, I think. All these people, you would think that they would have different tastes, but they all love The Way of Kings. Everyone loves The Way of Kings. And so I'm super excited to get into this. The only reason that I'm a little bit nervous is because Bree, who is the one of the hosts, or the main host for the Cosmere Crab-along from Books Before Death, said that she's pretty nervous about how I will feel about The Way of Kings. I think that's mainly because, number one, I'm still super new to the genre. At this point, I've read a lot of high fantasy, I guess not a lot, but a few high fantasy books, but it's still just mainly Brandon Sanderson, and I guess I have yet to experience Brandon Sanderson and his, all his glory with his Magnus Opus is, I think, what you call, the big, the obra maestra. I don't know how you say it, but this is Brandon Sanderson's obra maestra. And number two, because again, I struggle usually with Brandon Sanderson's beginnings, and I've been told that Brandon Sanderson's beginning in this book is 800 pages. So am I gonna be able to survive through that? I think I will. I think I'll trudge through it. I think I just power through it, and then hopefully when I get to the Sanderland, which I'm assuming that this has, it'll be a good payoff. Also, the other part of the reason why I think Bree is a little bit scared I won't like this is because they keep telling me that it's all set up. So the entire book is set up. But okay, here's the thing. At the same time, so many people rave about this book, and so it kind of doesn't make sense to me, because if it's all set up, I don't know, to me, saying that a book is all set up is almost a negative thing. I mean, it's not a negative thing, but it's if you want to entice, that's a weird word, want to encourage people to read The Way of Kings, you're not going to say, it's all set up. because like that'll be kind of a turn off for some people. That'll be like, oh, like I don't want to read 1,200 pages of all setup, hoping that this will be an enjoyable experience. I've heard that this is all set up, but then Words of Radiance is where it gets too interesting. And so, but at the same time, so many people are a fan of this book particularly, not just like the Stormlight archive in general, but like the Way of Kings particularly. So I don't know. I have a hunch that the Way of Kings, the reason why people love it is probably because of the character work. I am familiar with, I've seen so many reviews, I mean, non-spoiler reviews of this book at this point. I think the main reason people love this, despite it's being like mostly set up or all set up, is because of the character work. I'm pretty sure we follow like 4 main characters. I think this is Kaladin. That's Kaladin, which like everyone loves, like because he's like this depressed person apparently, who has like this little. Oh, by the way, this will be spoiler-filled vlog. By the way, this like Spren, which is like a misty spirit called Syl. There's also Shallan, who is like she draws a lot of stuff, and I know she has this like left hand cloth thing that's like a symbol of chastity or something. I'm not sure who the other 2 are. Maybe it's like Dalinar and Adolin Cohen. Maybe, and I'm pretty sure they're sort of related. Might be totally wrong. And I think they're like military people, and I'm pretty sure they're also like light-eyed, because like I know that in this book there's like the light eyes and the dark eyes, and like people discriminate the dark eyes. So I don't know. It's like I know a lot about this book, but I also at the same time don't. So it's really, really weird. I initially planned on doing a review, but I don't think I'm going to do a review of this book just because it's so thick. And by the time I finish this, I'll have probably so many notes that I like wouldn't be able to make a coherent review. So I'm just going to vlog this. Because I am a slow reader, I think the way I'm going to do it is I'll do weekly updates. So like the next clip will be my next week. So you'll have like an update on what I read for that week, like my general feelings, my thoughts. Again, this will be a spoilery reading vlog. I'll see you in the next clip. Week 1 update for The Way of Kings. I have reached page 240 of this, and I'm reading a little bit more today, hopefully catching up, because I am 3 days behind my supposed page count. But so far I am loving this book. Why is the frame ruined? Loving this book a lot, and I didn't expect it to love it so much this early. It's actually sitting at a 5-star read at the moment. This week has been crazy that I haven't been able to read that much. But here's the thing, here's the really interesting thing that speaks a lot about this book. I have reading this book very sporadically because I just started an internship, and that's been taking up so much of my time, and I've been just like been generally overwhelmed with a lot of things that I haven't been feeling like reading as much. But whenever I pick this book up, I'm just immediately hooked in, and I think that's saying a lot, because this is high fantasy and this is supposed to be sort of a more difficult read, at least from what I've been told. This is kind of a high fantasy at its peak, but it's actually very accessible. The story is very engaging so far. I love our characters so much, especially Kaladin and Shallan, who are, I guess, 2 of our main POVs in this story. In the beginning, we were introduced to a character named Kalak, or Kalak, I don't know how to say his name, which I understand we're not going to get explanations for until I don't think even in this book. I think we're going to get an explanation for that. I think in the second book is what I've heard. I'm interested in learning more about Kalak, and I already forgot the name of the person he was talking to. Was it the prelude or the prologue? But anyway, the chapter after that was about Sazeth killing King Gavilar. I enjoyed that chapter. However, so far in the first 240 pages, I did feel like that chapter felt the longest. Like it was a tad too long for me, like the whole action sequence there. There's a lot of things about the magic system that are being introduced, like shard blades, and I don't remember these things. I didn't know that Sazeth was a Parshendi. Before reading this book, I already knew that the Parshendi are like Sanderson's equivalent of orcs in this world. Apparently they're actually very intelligent human beings, and they have like marbled skin. I did not know that. I just knew that they like wore like plates of metal like all over their bodies as their armor. So my expectation for the Parshendi has already been subverted. Okay, after that, I've read about Sen. I knew that he was not one of the main characters, but I thought that for sure that he was going to be at least an important side character, especially since we are getting a perspective from him right from the get-go. But after that chapter, he's dead, which is... Oh, it's so sad because I have latched onto Sen so much already. Like, the moment he was saying that, like, I think I'm gonna... Something to the effect of, I think I'm gonna pee my pants if I go into this battle. I was like, that would be so me. I was like, I am Sen, Sen is me, and I love this character, and then he died, which is super sad. But I am glad that my expectations for Kaladin as a character has already been subverted before reading The Way of Kings. The only thing I knew about him was that he was like this warrior type guy, but he's also like very severely depressed. Like he has severe depression, and I'm not sure exactly how yet that's gonna come into play, or if that's gonna happen at all in this book so far. Because at the beginning, Kaladin is shown as this like really strong warrior. He's like a killer machine. He's awesome. He's basically a superhero at the beginning of the book. Later on, he's, because of a series of events, he's enslaved by Tvlakov, which, by the way, I thought I would stumble upon like the name Tvlakov, but as soon as I read it, I was like, oh, Tvlakov, like that's not a super hard name to pronounce. It's actually very easy to remember just because of the weird spelling. Where was I going with this? So expectations for Kaladin already subverted. I am starting to wonder if Kaladin's depression is something that it's like clinically diagnosed. I don't know how like mental health services work in this world, or if it's something that is a result of the trauma that he's already experienced at this point with like Bridge 4 and everything, or if it's something that he's always had and he's just like the symptoms are getting worse because of the traumatic events, or I really don't know where that comes into play. But so far I'm not seeing really significant... Actually, wait, I'm wrong. Actually, no. Because the honor chasm scene, I definitely see the scene at the honor chasm where he's just like, he's done with life, he's done with living, because now he's just like a slave. There's no purpose to him living, because he's gonna die eventually because of what's being done to them as slaves in Bridge 4. So yeah, I definitely see some signs of that, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of how that plays out later on in the story. Oh, his friendship with Syl. Oh my gosh, like, okay, at the beginning, Syl was introduced, I was like, this is Syl. Because I was looking forward to reading about Syl, because I've heard so much about their friendship and just like everything with them. And at the beginning, I was like, this is Syl. Okay, so I'm not really feeling any attachment to her as a character, but the honor chasm scene when... Okay, first, when Syl flew away, I was like, oh no, I think I've already latched onto Syl, because when Syl flew away, I was like, no, Syl, don't go. Like, Kaladin is at his worst right now. And then when she comes back with the leaf, that scene was so... Oh my goodness, like, that scene when she comes back with the leaf and she was like, you were amazing before, you were happy, you were like this awesome person, and ever since you've lost, I guess, your supply of this particular like healing leaf, like, you've not been your best, and I flew away to get you this, which has not been... Syl, I already love Syl, and I have a very, very, very bad feeling that something bad is going to happen to Syl much later on in the books. I have a hunch that Syl is going to disappear or die in Rhythm of War. Don't ask me where that came from, because I just have a feeling that something bad is going to happen to Syl, because Syl as a character is someone that you just can't help but love. Let's talk about Shallan. By the way, I guess if you're watching this, you've already read The Way of Kings, because this is spoiler-filled. Shallan's storyline is very fascinating. I love her as a character. I only knew that she was an artist and that she was the one who was doing the illustrations that are found all throughout the book. Other than that, the thing that I've heard before is that she wants to be tutored by... Tutored? English is hard. Be taught by Navani. I'm not sure if that's something that happens much later on in the book, because Navani and Jasna are related, but I didn't realize that at the beginning she's wanting to be tutored by Jasna. I can see some people not liking how long of a sequence that was, where she like makes essentially 3 big attempts to win Jasna's favor. Each of those attempts is almost like a short story of its own. I really enjoyed that. It really speaks to Shallan's character. Jasna as a character, I believe, is a very well-loved character. And while I do like Jasna, I have not yet felt like a connection with her. That sounds really wrong, but I haven't, I guess, felt invested in her story arc just yet. All we know so far about her is that she's an atheist, she's a scholar, she's like this super influential, powerful person in this world, and she's just really, really smart. And I love her character, but I haven't felt an emotional connection, not the right term, with her just yet. I do want to say, the chapter, I don't know which one, I think it was around the second attempt where Shallan wants to win Jasna's favor, where Shallan is drawing these drawings, I guess, of the city, Kharbranth, I guess, and the people around her, and she draws Jasna as well. Okay, so that whole montage, I think, was really, really good. It's written so well. Like, okay, people keep saying that Brandon Sanderson's prose isn't the best, but I would use that montage of just like Shallan drawing like all these different drawings as an argument against that argument, I guess, that Brandon Sanderson isn't the best at his prose, because that part was so good. The way Brandon Sanderson described Shallan drawing is very comparable to the way Patrick Rothfuss describes Kavoth's music playing in The Name of the Wind, which I love. I love Patrick Rothfuss's writing, and I've been wanting to reread The Name of the Wind because I just miss that kind of writing, and I got a dose of that with Shallan's drawing, and that was so satisfying. I love that part so much, probably more than I expected to, because I mean, I do care about prose, but it's not something that I intentionally look for. I do think it's a little weird, but I feel like it's going to be explained later on about the spren. So there's things like fear spren, glory spren, creation spren, anticipation spren, wind spren. Is there a light spren? I think there is. It's so weird that we only have spren for these very specific things and not like everything, right? There's just like certain things that have spren equivalents, or that are visible at least. I think maybe that's it. Maybe only certain spren are visible and other spren are not. Because like, if we have spren for different kinds of emotions or different kinds of abstract things, why aren't there like thousands of them everywhere? Because like, there could be dust spren or fart spren or confusion spren, right? But there's not any of those. There's only like these very specific kinds of spren that appear. So I don't know how you feel about the spren in general. Yeah, I love Syl, but like the spren in general, I feel like the rules there are a little bit all over the place, at least from what I understand. So I'm hoping that we have a good explanation about the spren later on. I was expecting to go through this slowly. I mean, I have been getting through this slowly, but it's not because of the book. It's because of just life in general. This week has been crazy. Every time I picked up this book, I don't know if I mentioned this already, but every time I pick up this book, despite having to read it sporadically because of all the things that I need to do, I immediately am hooked back into the story. Like, I don't know how Brandon Sanderson did it, or if it's just my positive mood. No, it's actually not my mood because it hasn't been positive lately. But every time I pick up the book and read where I left off, I'm just hooked into the story. I'm invested. I love everything. I love the writing. I love the characters. Everything is just great. I don't have a lot of negatives about this book so far, and it's only been 240 pages, but it's already a 5-star read for me so far. A lot of people say that this isn't the best introduction to high fantasy, but so far I'm not seeing any signs of that yet. Maybe in terms of like the abundance of terms or names that are just like not fully explained just yet. If you're a newbie, you have to go in with the mindset that there's gonna be things like that, and you just have to keep on reading. It'll be explained later. Don't worry about it, you know? I think this is actually a decent introduction to high fantasy, so far at least. Don't quote me on that. The overall plot line is moving slowly because obviously it's just the beginning. Things are not coming together yet. Individual storylines, I feel like, are moving at a very regular pace. I'm starting to wonder if this entire book is going to be set up of just moving everyone's plot lines forward, but it's not really going to wrap up or have like a distinct story arc all throughout the book that kind of ties in some of these storylines together. That's something that we get much later on. That is it for my general thoughts so far. I have reached the chapter where Adolin, Colin, and Renarin are introduced, and they are the sons of Dalinar, I think. It's only been one chapter, so I don't know a ton about them just yet, but I do already like Adolin and Renarin. I've heard that Adolin is a little bit of a controversial character because some people love him, some people don't, and I think it really depends on how far you are into the Cosmere when it comes to liking or disliking Adolin. Renarin, I believe, is really more of a side character. A lot of people love him, and I already love him. A lot of people have predicted that I would love Renarin, and I do. I already love Renarin. I love them both, and looking forward to learning more about them. I think I might get a little bit more about them when I read today, when I catch up on the 3 days that I haven't been reading. But yeah, so far, I love this book, and I'll see you in the next clip for week 2 update. I also forgot, and this is a crime, but I also love the character Yalb. The whole thing with Yalb saving Shallan from the entire situation with the bookstore owner. I love Yalb. That's all. Really quick week 2 update. I don't have a ton of thoughts so far. I mean, from what I've read this week, I've reached page 132, so almost halfway, not quite, but we're getting there. And not a ton of stuff has happened, honestly. Things have kind of slowed down. Kaladin is still trying to win the favor of his bridge, I guess the Bridge 4 crew. We've been introduced to Dalinar, and I love his character so much. I had never thought in a million years that I would latch onto a crusty old man as a character, but I guess here we are. He's been having all these visions of like the past, I guess, and like something just is kind of calling to him to follow the old codes, follow this book called The Way of Kings, which I already knew that The Way of Kings was a book in this story, but I did not exactly know what purpose it served. So we're still not getting like a ton of answers as to what those are, or what this book is about, or what the Knights Radiant, like who they are. And so I'm looking forward to learning more about those. In terms of like the plot, again, I've said that it's kind of slowed down a bit. I still enjoy the story. But like it's moving much slower than the beginning of the story. I feel like I think Adolin and Dalinar's relationship as father and son is really interesting. I love the whole dynamic there. I'm starting to not really dislike, but grow disinterested in Adolin, just because he is just like dating all these women, and I'm just like, dude, just like stick to one. Also, the whole like plot with Elhokar, or Elokar, I don't know how to say his name, and the strap. It's taking way too much time. I'm like, just move on from the strap already. Like, there are much bigger things at stake, or much bigger problems that you need to deal with right now. So like, the strap is like the least of your worries right now. I just reached the part where Adolin's friend or girlfriend, whatever, is like helping out Dalinar with like the span read. I already forgot what it was called, but the span read, and I thought that was pretty cool. I thought the way that they're able to communicate long distance is really fascinating. Jasna obviously had her ward Shallan draw the part that they were showing, or the Voidbringers, I think, is what she was showing to Dalinar. I thought that was really interesting. Now we're starting to see that these 3 main POVs that we're following, Dalinar, Kaladin, and Shallan, they're all coming together. Either Dalinar or Sadeas is having more interactions with the Bridgemen, so obviously at some point there's going to be some kind of interaction with Bridge 4, Kaladin. I'm not sure what to expect yet. I do know that eventually Kaladin, because of the fan art, eventually Kaladin wears blue, like the stuff that the Light Eyes wear, so I'm not sure if eventually Bridge 4 will be kind of inducted into the army. Not sure how that will work out. Or maybe I'm totally wrong. Maybe I've misunderstood the fan art and it's not actually Kaladin whom I've seen in blue. So looking forward to that. I don't have a ton of opinions. It's just the story's moving very slowly, so I don't have a ton of thoughts on how I feel about it. I'm gonna slow down a bit in terms of my reading, so I'm not sure if I'll the next clip will be covering 2 weeks of reading or just 1 week because I've been super stressed lately, so we'll see. Week 3 update is technically take 2 of this clip just because the first one was so gushy and I did not have words to describe how I was feeling. So let's hope that this time my thoughts will be more coherent. So since I've last updated, I've added a lot of new tabs. Most of them are pink and some of them are blue. Pink tabs are for the parts that I love and want to revisit, and blue tabs are some quotable quotes that I found. And there honestly should be more here, which I'll explain because, okay, so I reviewed all these tabs for this update, or this weekly update, and if I like talked about each of them, it would take forever. This clip would take literally forever because there's just so much that I loved, and there are even some parts that I didn't even get to tab just because, I don't know, I feel like if I tabbed everything I love or every scene that I enjoyed in this book, I would just run out of tabs, and I don't want to run out of tabs before I finish the book. So I think my general thoughts or loves so far for this weekly update can be summarized into 3 parts. Number 1, Jasna. Number 2, Lirin. And number 3, Bridge 4. Let's talk about Bridge 4 first because I feel like that's the easiest to talk about right now. So we're starting to get more from Bridge 4. During the last update, Calvin's still trying to, get them to, like have a little bit more hope and have a little bit more purpose. So they do these extra tasks. They start to get together. They start like cooking over, like having like a nightly dinner sort of thing where they sing and eat and just make things a little bit better for all of them. And I was starting to like them, but I still wasn't like emotionally attached to them. But now, after the scene where what's his face, Rock, is like cooking, and there was a guy from Bridge 4 who was like, "We have a gift for you because you obviously work so hard to cook for us every night," and they gave him a razor. And okay, Syl made me almost cry when she returned to Kaladin with the leaf, and now that scene almost made me cry just because Rock got a razor. Crying over leaves and razors these days, but it was really touching. I love them so much. Also, let's talk about the whole scene where Kaladin is in the high storm and then he has these like the spears that Teph gave him, and like the Stormfather's face appears and he survives the night, and there's this like Stormlight, I guess is what the spears unleashed. I still don't know what that's all about, but that was really cool. I mean, I obviously knew that Kaladin was going to survive it because, there's 4 books and Kaladin is a main character. The whole Bridge 4 coming together and, like having a little bit of their humanity restored is just so heartwarming. Then let's talk about Lirin. So we have had a few flashbacks from Kaladin, and all of them included Lirin, and Lirin is his father. I love Lirin as a character, and I'm slowly becoming more and more attached to him, that I just know at some point, I think maybe it's going to be in this book, it's going to be revealed how exactly Kaladin was separated from Lirin, what happened to Lirin. I can just imagine that something terrible is going to happen to Lirin, and I am not ready for it because I love Lirin so much as a character. The whole part where he's in like talks with Roshone, that part was really interesting. When those men come in the night to like take him or attack him, and he like shows them these spears, that was so cool. And then what really solidified my love for Lirin was when he could easily have killed the man who was making their lives miserable, but he didn't, and he told Kaladin that I didn't just do it just because you were there, but I just know that it's not gonna be right. And oh man, Lirin as a character, get you a dad like Lirin. I mean, I love my father, but also Lirin is amazing. I totally forgot to bring this up about Bridge 4, but the whole scene with the side carry, oh my gosh, that was so intense. Like I could just imagine them just like side carrying the bridge. I mean, I don't pay attention to too much detail when it comes to these action scenes, just because I'm just reading so fast because I want to know what's gonna happen. But the way I imagined it, it's just like they're just like turning and like side carrying this bridge and just like shielding themselves from the arrows and then like turning again. And oh my gosh, I was like, I'm not sure if like a lot of people are gonna die, and then they all survived, but also that was the cause of the army losing and Kaladin getting punished for that. The whole side carry sequence was just like, I love this so much. There's a reason I'm downstairs and not upstairs where everyone is. And then finally, we have to talk about Jasna, because oh my goodness, every time Jasna enters the scene, I just want a standalone or like a whole novel just about Jasna, because Jasna as a character is so fascinating. I'm just like, every time she's on scene, she has all these conversations with Shallan. Like that scene where she just like, I'm gonna have a philosophy lesson with you, Shallan, and just like straight up soul casts 4 men. Jasna is a whole different level. She's like, these men are terrible, they're gonna do terrible things to like unsuspecting girls, and I cannot stand that, so let's have a lesson in philosophy and let's go kill men while we're at it. I mean, I don't condone, I mean, it's weird because I feel like I should be just like siding with Shallan, but I'm like, go Jasna, go, just kill those men. I should really calm down. But I can't calm down when it comes to Jasna, because literally every scene she's in, I'm just like, Jasna, please tell me, give me all your wisdom, guide me in my life, because maybe then it would have direction. Also that scene where Kamsal is like, hey, I just feel like I'm gonna convince Jasna, I'm gonna be the one to convert her, because she has like this like metal sheets and powder, and she's like, and whoa, look at this, it's the map of Elefkar or whatever. And then Jasna's like, yeah, I've seen that, do you have proof for this though? And he just like runs off. Like, I love Kamsal as a character. Obviously it's kind of interesting, like Shallan and his relationship with Shallan, he's actually starting to grow on me. But like, I don't know how that's going to work out, because I think artists in this world cannot marry or have relationships. I'm not sure. I love Kamsal as a character, but like Jasna just makes everything perfect. You know how like every movie that Meryl Streep is in, almost every movie, like she just like steals the show, even though she's like a minor character. That's basically Jasna. Oh, where was I? I just got a sticko from my sister. She steals every scene that she's in, and I just want like a story dedicated to just Jasna, because she's amazing. I think Jasna is my favorite character, and then Liren, and then I don't know, I can't rank these characters because I love almost all of them. So I'm not gonna, but Jasna is definitely number 1 so far. And Dalinar, let's not do this right now. Okay. Anyway, this was super rambly already, and I'm gonna stop now before this turns into a 30-minute clip just for this week. I am loving it so much so far. I still feel that things are moving a little bit slowly, but maybe that's just because I'm reading it a little bit slowly, so it's not the book's fault, I don't think. There are parts of the story where I feel like, okay, we're not really doing anything to move the story forward, and then something happens that pulls me back into the story again, so like, no problem there. I am getting a little bit more intrigued because there are some mysteries that are coming out, like for example, what was that whole thing with Kaladin and the spheres and the Stormfather's face appearing in the clouds like Mufasa in Lion King, and then also Shallan, like when she's like unconsciously draws like all these weird things, like there was like this king, I think, and then she drew like these weird people in the background. That gave me goosebumps. And then there's other instances where she's just like casually drawing, oh, I did not mean to draw that, but let's burn that or whatever. I'm really interested in that. Okay, the whole thing with the soul casters, I have a feeling that Jasna already knows that Shallan stole the soul caster. Maybe Shallan has a fake soul caster with her, like Jasna like swapped the real one for this, you get what I mean. Or maybe the soul casting ability is not based on the object but on the user. That's why Shallan can't get it to work, and Jasna just like basically does what she does with the solo casting. I said like 5 minutes ago that I was gonna stop, so I'm now actually gonna stop. See you in the next clip where I will have reached 3/4 of the book. So bye bye. So I was gonna do a reading update for the past 2 weeks because I haven't updated for the past 2 weeks, obviously. But just look at this. It's really scary. It's like the surges of Roshar, or maybe I got that wrong. I mean the storms and Roshar. And I'm just gonna wait here, watch, and see if I see the Stormfather's face in the clouds, because it's really, really raining hard right now. Or maybe I will give an update a little later when this scary storm lets up a little bit. So I was already too lazy to film an update last week, and I was not gonna do another update for this week, but since I'm almost done with The Way of Kings, I just know that I'm going to regret if I don't give all of these updates now and wait till the end of the book. So I'm just going to give you a 2-week update now before I get overwhelmed, because there have been so many things that happened since my last update. I'll try not to go too in-depth about them, but I just have so many thoughts. Okay, so first thing, Bridge 4. I've been loving them more every time they come in. I'm still not super duper attached to them, but they're getting there. They're getting there. They're reaching Jasna level. They just collectively, as well as Kaladin, just always want to do the right thing, and I love them for it. Speaking of Jasna, the past 2 weeks we didn't really get a ton of her, and I need more of Jasna, and I'm kind of nervous. Well, not really nervous, but like I think that we're not gonna get more of Jasna until the next book, which I kind of understand. Like we were just kind of setting things up with Shallan and Jasna, but I just need more Jasna. Okay. Another thing I want to touch on is Wit. Wit is Hoid, which if you didn't know, Hoid appears in every Cosmere book, either explicitly or implicitly. And both the scenes where he talks to Dalinar, as well as when he tells Kaladin that story, Wandersail, oh, those were so good. I forgot to mention this before, but I've seen subtle hints of other Cosmere connections in the previous chapters. You'll definitely miss if you haven't read the other Cosmere books before, but they're not necessary, or at least I don't think that you have to read them to appreciate this subtle mention of something. One of the best parts of the past 2 weeks was getting to know Adolin and Dalinar's relationship more as father and son. I love their relationship so much. They have different kind of philosophies in life, they have different beliefs, but they care enough for each other to trust in each other. I don't know if that makes sense, but I just love them individually as characters. They're amazing. I just love how they work, especially that scene when freaking Sadeas abandons Dalinar and his army, which, by the way, like, bad move there, dude. I was so mad because I was coming to trust him as much as Dalinar was trusting him, but oh my goodness, I kind of knew it, but that made me so mad. When Dalinar was like, you know what, I regret all of this, but Alan was like, no, like, you did the right thing. Yes, we are now in trouble, but you did the right thing, and I would have done the same kind of a thing. And I just love both of them for it, especially Adolin. The whole speech that Dalinar gave before charging, oh, it was amazing. Especially when he thought he was going to die, or he knew he was going to die. I don't know yet because I haven't reached that point. And his last thought was of Renarin and how he wasn't able to give him the shard plate. Oh my goodness, that just melted my heart. I don't know how I feel yet about Dalinar and Navani being together, but I guess we'll get more of that in the next books, which I'm looking forward to. And finally, we have to talk about Tien and how every flashback was leading up to this, and I was kind of expecting this, but it doesn't mean that flashback where we finally find out how exactly Tien died doesn't mean that didn't have an impact on me emotionally. That was so sad. It was almost like Mistborn level sad almost. The way that flashback transitioned into Kaladin, like embracing the codes and the words of the Night's Radiant. I don't know, I'm probably mixing things up. That whole scene where Kaladin just like charges and he's infused with Stormlight and the Parshendi are just running away, and so much love for that scene and so much love for Kaladin, which I initially felt very neutral, and some people were disappointed by that because I was just like, I love Kaladin but not like love him, and some people Bree, hi Bree, were really upset about that. But now I see how much Kaladin deserves all the love. The next time you're gonna see me will be my kind of final thoughts for The Way of Kings, as well as initial thoughts for Words of Radiance, which I'll have another vlog for. Welcome to the final clip of my vlog for The Way of Kings. Obviously, I've finally finished this book, this Stormin book, and it has been a journey. I'm gonna touch on lightly what happened at the end. There's a lot of things that happened. The whole Sanderson is pretty worthy of note, and it's been a while since I've finished this. It was, I think, Tuesday or Wednesday, so my memory is kind of all over the place. But as I recall, I really loved the scene where Kaladin, bless his heart, he was just like, storm it, we have to go back, and they just go back for Dalinar's army and bring the bridge over to them. And the way that Kaladin just like bosses everyone around like nobody's business, it was just priceless. And they go back and Dalinar confronts Sadeas and ice out the bridgeman from him by giving his shard blade to Sadeas. I was not expecting that at all, and it was just, I've grown to love both Kaladin and Dalinar so much from just the entire Sanderland. But what really made me love this book even more was how things ended with Shallan and Jasnah. The way that Shallan like exposes Jasnah's secrets, and Jasnah finally taking Shallan as her official, like actual ward, despite all the stupid things that Shallan did. When Shallan revealed that she was the one who murdered her father. Ooh, I'm so excited to get to know more about Shallan. I know that like The Way of Kings is kind of Kaladin's book, so we got most of the flashbacks are from him, and so I'm expecting that a little bit from Words of Radiance, but this time with Shallan. So I'm excited to get to know more about Shallan's history. I know that she's been communicating with her brother Non-Balat, and I think Non-Balat is a really sketchy character, so I'm really looking forward to getting to know that character more and just getting to know Jasnah more. But I'm going off on a tangent because I already started Words of Radiance. And then finally we have the ending with Wit, and then I think Talon comes in and just like says that they've failed, and this was after Wit was like asking all these guards like what do men value most. After I finished this, I was like, no way that I'm gonna take a pause from this to Words of Radiance, even though this is another giant of a book, because of that cliffhanger. And I rated this book 5 stars. It has been quite a while since I've rated a book 5 stars. On Goodreads, I've given out 5 stars, but I put like an actual rating 4 stars, or 4.5 stars. This one, wholeheartedly, is a 5-star book. There is a footnote to that though, because even though I gave this like a full 5 stars, it wasn't because of the book as a whole, but it was because of the sum of its parts, if that makes sense. Like, there were so many 5-star moments all throughout this book, and this is like 1,250 plus page book, and I just think it deserves all the stars. Like, if within the span of so many pages you've given me so many 5-star moments, you're getting 5 stars, and that is what this book did for me. So I want to talk about a few more things. I know that in the past clips I've said that like things were getting a little slow, and I was still waiting for the pace to pick up a bit, but in reality, like overall, I did not really feel that this book was slow. Everything felt intentional. Like, to me, the pace of a story really depends on how intentional everything feels. If it feels like we're meandering, even though like things are happening left and right, if there doesn't feel like a purpose to it, then it feels slow. I will say though that maybe that's because I've read a ton of Brandon Sanderson's other works, and I've just gotten used to trusting him as an author. So whenever those slower parts came, I was just like taking everything in and knowing that there will be some sort of payoff for this later on. And there was. The entire Way of Kings has a distinct story arc. There's a solid beginning and end. I definitely agree now with Bree when she said that this is really all set up, but not in a bad way. It's like a storm of like so many different events and emotions, but it feels like an intentional storm. It's like a calmer storm before an actual storm, and I'm so excited to get to see where all these threads lead. In terms of characters, I think it goes without saying that Jasnah is my favorite, and even though we got glimpses of Jasnah like pretty sporadically all throughout the book, I'm looking forward to getting more of her. Hopefully, since Shallan is like the main perspective in Words of Radiance, hopefully I'll get more Jasnah there. Lopen is also another favorite character just because he's so funny, and I just love his overall personality. As well as Lirin, even though we only got him from flashbacks. I really love the scenes that he was in. I love Kaladin and Shallan and Dalinar and Adolin. As for Sazeth, I think I'm still waiting for more from him. I really think the end where, I don't know why I didn't have that, but the end where it's finally revealed that King Taravangian is actually the one who is commanding him, I thought that was really fascinating. I'm excited to find out more of Taravangian's intentions. The scene where they're in that like hospital or like ward where they're draining people's blood and like recording all the last words of these people, that was something else. After reading The Way of Kings, I watched Jay's video from Captured in Words, like his whole summer video, which I'll have linked down below. And I realized that I had missed so much. I had missed so many details. Like for example, I totally forgot that Shallan referenced like having a shard blade, like having like a silvery sword. So I'm wondering, is that the sword that she used to kill her father? And then for all of the interludes, I was like not paying attention at all. I was just like, this is like kind of weird and I don't really know what's going on, but I'll just move forward. I honestly might have to reread them at some point, but definitely after seeing Jay's video, I just know that I will probably need to reread this like at least 2 or 3 more times. Probably right before Stormlight 5 comes up, because I missed so many things. I had totally missed the interlude where there's like some wider cosmic connections. I will disagree with what I said in the very first clip, or the second clip I think of this video, where I said that I think The Way of Kings is a good introduction to high fantasy. It's not like, it's good. It's an amazing high fantasy, and a lot of people had this as their introduction, but in terms of like being new to like long books and just like a plot that doesn't have a payoff till the very end, I can see this as being kind of a challenge for newer fantasy readers. But that really doesn't take away from my love for this book. It's so good, and I'm looking forward to reading the next one. Well, I actually already started, but you'll have more of my thoughts in the next vlog. Pretty sure I missed so many details, but I'm just going to end the vlog here. Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay tuned for my Words of Radiance vlog, which will come up, I don't know, in 2 months maybe. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and please forget to subscribe so that you can do it later, and have a good day.